The generation gap, so feel this drum beat. As we be struck within, playing a rhythm. Good morning, people. Resisting against the system, boy. I know God never let us down. Oh, you're right from wrong, but the aliens are watching. I know God never let us down. Don't even start with me today. The watchers watching psychopathy. They made the world so hard. Every day, we got to keep on fighting. I want to talk about making the world hard. They made the world so hard. Every day, the people are dying while the aliens are watching. Hunger and starvation, lamentation. But read it in Revelations. You will find your redemption. Give us the teachings of Thoth and the Emerald Tablets. We don't want no devils. Philosophy, colonizers teach us something about humanity. You're supposed to love your neighbors, and philosophy, you feel it in the one drop. That's right, because the Nazis had a UFO, and I was listening to a whistleblower this morning. In between my brother just fighting that white supremacy. All right, I got hang on. As a beach from playing the rhythm. Come on, everybody. I'm singing. Fighting against isms and schisms. Not joining isms and schisms. I know Jah will never let us down, but the aliens are watched. They said they'd never leave nor forsake, but they said they would never leave nor forsake. Leave nor forsake. So they didn't leave, and I'm seeing a whole lot of forsaking it happening. They make the world so hard every day. Every day. They made the world so hard every day. Hang on, I have to figure out how to share this. Oh, I gotta edit it. Dread, 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 dread. They tread on all the dreads. Good morning, everybody. Ooh, so this is the thing. I can't stop singing, Bob. I have to turn it off. You have to turn Bob off. Otherwise, I can't stop singing. It's just Bob. Viagra FED MMT. So let me see. What is this? Is this for kids? No, it's not made for kids. Nope, it's not made for kids. Nope, this is not for kids. This is for adults. This is not for people over the age of 40 who still believe TV. Good morning, everybody. Two things. Viagra MMT. Viagra Federal Reserve MMT. The Federal Reserve has finally decided to do MMT. What does that let you know? Let you know the Titanic is going down. The last bulkhead done broke because they're actually printing money for people. The world is over, y'all. It's about to go down. We're going down with the ship. The only time they open up steerage, the only time they're willing to save steerage is in the end. Good morning, everybody. Let me see. How do I share this? Isn't there a share button on here somewhere? I saw a share button. Yeah, go right there. Good morning. Good morning, people. Let me see. We're going to share this to Facebook. Because Viagra FED MMT, how does that fit together? Well, one, they made the world so hard. That's where the Viagra part comes from. They made the world so hard, and now the Federal Reserve is realizing or showing you that they could have been doing this the whole damn time. I don't know why it messes the name up. Why does it have the wrong name? Hold on. I want to share that. I do not want to share that yet. I want to make sure it's got the right name. Good morning, Christine. Good morning. Yes, got that notice today. What notice did you get today, Christine? They're going to give everybody $14,000 from the Federal Reserve. That's what's going on. And people get excited, get happy about it. Don't get too happy. Don't get too happy. When things don't make no sense, you got to ask yourself why. Why? Always ask yourself why. All right, it's not going to do what I wanted to do. It's not going to do the right thing. It still has yesterday's name. Zombie. Big people race. That's how I picked these names. So yeah, two things we can talk about. One, we can talk about the new whistleblower. Well, he's not new, he's new to me. Another whistleblower who confirmed what all the other whistleblowers said about Operation Paperclip. I'd love to talk about that. I didn't even listen to it. I was listening to the interview. It was deep. Because it actually got into hieroglyphics and Ooh, I get the chills when I think about it. And of course, government hiding that. He went through all the details of when they started UFOs and who they got them from and all that great stuff. And now it's UFO on TV and the Pentagon is telling you that they got one. So now the question you got to ask yourself is who is actually telling you the truth? The people who've been telling you this for the longest time, or the people who've been lying to you for the longest time? It's time to listen to the whistleblowers. I want to listen to that. And the other one is the Federal Reserve has decided to print, I think it's $14,000 per person. $14,000 per. You know what that's called? That's called a cash out. That's called we did everything else this month. This ship was going down. We're gonna go ahead and open up steerage and give them a little something on the way out. And then the Federal Reserve's got their digital currency. So everybody's got a digital currency and they're all internationally owned. And once again, the real question for me is, do you actually have a sovereign nation if your nation doesn't own a currency? Does your nation have a mama? Who gives it allowance, which doesn't give two damns what your government says? Good morning, everybody. Let me bring this up here. Interesting times, unprecedented things, and the Federal Reserve is indicating to you that this is all wrapping up. All right, let me go find that video comments, because I guess I can read the comments right there. I try to, you know what, let me do it. Let me put it over here and right there. There we go, 2 comment sections. Oh yeah, I like this one because I can scan this one up. I can't. Okay, there we go. I can go back in the comments. Good morning, Christine. Hello, Stacy. Stacy's mad at y'all. She's mad because I said the aliens are watching, so they must be psychopaths. I'm sorry, Stacy. Anybody who can watch this happen to the human race, they got issues and they need a tissue. They got issues, they need a tissue. They need to pull them antennas out, show us the green skin, get out here and help these people. People starving and dying, running amok. You got the black supremacists fighting the white supremacists and the left and the right, and all of this ignorance is going on, and the aliens gonna sit there and watch all of this? Yeah, so if y'all just gonna watch this, then we ain't friends. I'm sorry, we are not friends. We are not friends. And you know what's funny, Stacy? The whistleblower actually said that too. He said that nobody knows how many aliens are just walking amongst the human race. Something wrong with people who can just watch. That's why I call them Mike Vick aliens. That's what, you know why? Because they just watching Fight Club. They ain't doing nothing about it. They ain't calling the popo. They're not trying to help us. They're not stopping the dog fights. They're just watching. For some sort of profit, I don't know. So yeah, any aliens is watching the human race do this to themselves. It's a psychopathic alien race. You need to get the hell up off our planet. Because they're just watching. And they're going to wait to the end. They're going to get in them ships and fly away. And that leads me over to Thoth and the Emerald Tablets. Whew. A lot of stuff we talk about today. Good morning, everybody. What y'all want to talk about? Or we can talk about anything y'all want to talk about. Good morning in Belgium. Oh, what's going on in Belgium? Good morning, Rebecca. In Belgium, just a new minister chosen who is going to totally go along with the World Health Organization, Billy Fence. Damn it, we're you. That's a mess, Christine. That is a mess. But that's how the world works. The world works on power and money. I think Belgium probably does not have a government. They probably got a corporation mint like America. Good morning. We'll be listening while running busy. Good morals. What's good morals? Good morals, Christ. Who got good morals? Good morning, Nicole Sears. Good morning. Yes, in many shops, they hardly accept cash. Yeah, because it's the end of cash. It's the end of cash. That society is upon us. Change the music. That new world is upon us. The Titanic done broke. They're trying to help out steerage now. So now we know we're about to get our digital currencies. The final enslavement of the human race. Although I'm kind of happy because I think I might actually got my brother reading law, which is a good thing. I don't know. Maybe he will. Maybe he won't. He's a little obstinate. He needs to fight that white supremacy. Y'all. Now I'm just like, yeah, I got white supremacist friend. Because how did that conversation start? I guess he read something that said that Homeland Security's #1 threat to the election was the Russia interference from white supremacy. I'm gonna let y'all know, first of all, that's fake, phony, and a foul. I can know a whole bunch of white supremacists. They're my friends and cousins. They don't prefer my skin color, which I don't give 2 damns about because I'm a grown ass man. I don't care about that. You can have all your white supremacy, your black supremacy, your yellow, your blue supremacy, your mermaids, and whatever y'all think y'all are. You can have all of that on your land, on your property, and I bless you for it. Bless you and love you. Hope twice. Hope you get all the fins, afros, blonde hair and blue eyes that you can stand. I love you to death. I have no issue with black supremacy or white supremacy. They don't enslave me. They don't enslave me at all. Okay, so 0.01%. It's a global banking cartel. That's the problem. All right, I don't have any issue with nobody done it. White supremacy ain't never done nothing to me. Okay, black supremacy, well, they did a little bit. I grew up in the Washington D.C. area, so we're not gonna touch that. I'm fine with them too. As long as you leave me alone, I'm good to go. I don't care what you are. I don't care what you want to do. My issue is my slavery. Those who enslave me, I got issue with. Those who just, I don't know, like their own skin color and the feet, nose, whatever you like, then I'm good. I love you to death, and I hope you have a whole lot of it on your own land, in your own space. Human beings, the human race does well in anarchy. A family is in anarchy, all right? Like, that's what he hit me back with. He said, well, there's anarchy and there's dictatorship. He said, I like to kind of land in the middle somewhere. And I'm just like, yeah, well, let me say that another way, brother, because we were raised in the church together. And the way God had put that is there's Caesar's will and there's free will, which is God's will. You got free will or Caesar's will, so there is no meeting in the middle. All right, it's just disobeying free will, leave everybody alone, let them do what they want to do, or going along with the Caesars and their laws. And unfortunately, I cannot get it down with Caesar and their laws. Why is the comment so behind? Comment is super behind. Yes, let me see. Good morning, Buddha Cat. Morning, y'all. My car hates me, so I'm home. Your car hates you? Well, everybody car hates everybody, Buddha Cat, because every car is stolen. Every car is stolen. It's energy. It's like money. If every car is stolen for minerals and they murdered people and killed them, put them in holes, and they traffic weapons to keep warlords running those countries so they can get cheap minerals and sell them on Wall Street to build autos, then hell yeah, the car, that's energy. That's negative dark vibe energy. That's why I bought an old car. Old car. I don't want the new hate, the new dark energy. I want the old ones, kind of like an off-gassing house, perhaps. Is that the thing? Does negative energy need to off-gas? You buy an old car, is there less blood involved in that one than with a new car? I don't need fresh new hate, spiritual hate. All right. So what are we doing? Are we going to look at the currency flipping? Are we going to look at the new stimulus that's doing MMT? Even though they made the world hard this whole time, they pulled the dress up and showed you that they've been lying to everybody the whole damn time. They could have been bailing citizens out the whole damn time. So now they're finally deciding to do something unprecedented and actually bail the citizens out. They're finally, the Federal Reserve is actually acting like a government, and they're not even the government. The owners of the biggest investor in the Federal Reserve, which is an international criminal corporation, is JP Morgan. That's the biggest investor. Last time I checked, the 12 Federal Reserve regional facilities with the money to enslave the nation coast to coast. Yeah, anytime that they stop printing money for their criminal friends on Wall Street, which is what caused all of this, it's obvious that we are at the end. It's obvious. Oh, you want to do both, Christine? My goodness, what kind of time do you think I got in slavery? Are we going to do both? All right, well, this is what we'll do. What are we going to start with? How about that? I'm tired of driving this stuff. What do we start? Are we going to start with the currency, or are we going to start with, what is this whistleblower's name? This blew me away. I didn't even listen to the whole thing. Once he got to the part and said, yeah, well, you know, the UFO manual, the manuals, the whatever crap, the V-monitors, yeah, some of them were German and the rest were hieroglyphics. I was like, what? That's what Bob Lazar said, which was just out of place. When you get people confirming these stories, and then the Emerald Tablet said that, say, because Stowe said he left his spaceship underneath the paw of the Sphinx, and that makes sense, and that adds up with that guy Zahi Hawass, who won't ever let nobody go down there and see nothing, never ever. Ain't nothing down here but dust and some zombie mummies. Ain't nothing down here. Y'all don't need to see none of this. It all adds up to me. It all adds up. Then you got that Invention Security Act of 1951. Oh, I was talking about that yesterday. I met a brother yesterday. And I guess he was a Democrat. He was born in 1951, so we're having a good discussion. And he started talking about the left and the right. We got to start looking out for people, and that made the world so hard. And so, of course, I just went into the world was artificially made hard. Artificial scarcity did that. They did it with legislation. Besides the fact, do you think that the telephone went from being a box big as a computer down to something, a sliver. Do you think the TV, the telephone, the fax machine, all these things, they all now in this little sliver of a device. And all of that happened in like 20 years. But do we think in 100 years they have not gone any further at all with fossil fuels or energy propulsion? Of course they have. They keep it hidden from us, and that's in the Invention Security Act of 1951, which is weird because I was like, you were born in 1951. This is some kind of confirmation like I'm supposed to tell you. And anyway, so let's get into it. You said, Elon, we'll do aliens first. Good morning. Good morning. Who was that? Shindig listener. Let's jump over here. What is his name? This is from the Camelot Project. I don't know his name. I didn't even listen to it. I heard the first few minutes of it. I'm like, wow, William Tompkins. Wow, that sounds pretty deep. That's confirming other things other people say. Now, and when we listen to this, take a grain of salt. Grain of salt, go to the kitchen, get a grain of salt, and go ahead and just put it on your mouth. Just get ready to take a grain of salt. I don't think anybody actually knows what's true. All right. We can watch this, but am I going to believe everything he says? No, I'm not. We know there's controlled opposition. We know that they lie about a lot. They lie about lying about stuff. They have people that they put in positions and they let them see certain things to kind of create controlled opposition. There's always lies upon lies. But what makes sense in all of this, because he gets a little fantastic at one point. He was saying things hard for me to bite. But of course, what the hell do I know? It's a whole lot of stars out there, and I'm just a monkey down here trying to get some bananas in an artificially scarce economy. Check this brother out.
For a minimum of 6,000 years. We're going to have to step back our thinking here to the people on this planet.
Okay.
They don't know there's extraterrestrials.
Yeah.
They don't know that there's not just one of them. Maybe we've got thousands, maybe we got billions of extraterrestrial. The latest number, just recently, we doubled the number again. We now have 200 trillion galaxies out there.
Bobby Ray Inman, was he alive then? I don't even know.
He was just a kid then.
So he wasn't.
But Bobby Ray Inman later on became the number one admiral.
Still is.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, he, 26 years, he ran with the ball.
Right.
Okay?
Yes.
He knew what he was talking about. So they watched this event, and they immediately structured and organized this group of people, pulling in all of the top scientists they could pull them in, put them inside a secret area, inside of an aircraft company. He put this organization together, which ended up being a major organization later on studying extraterrestrial and is still studying it.
So are you saying that was the beginning of MJ-12?
Yeah.
So what he's talking about is Operation Paperclip, if y'all are familiar. And this is why. Also the brother I met yesterday, he was a history teacher. You know, he says, I love history, and that's when I brought up the Invention Security Act of 1951, because I never heard of it either. Who's that, Shindig listener? I never heard of it. I never heard of it till, well, it was mentioned in some whistleblower video a long time ago. And I kind of blow past stuff, because to me, it's like I got to hear things a few times before like it really resonates. I think there's something about me, Shindig. I need to hear a few people say it. Like, I would trust one whistleblower over any government on the planet. And no whistleblower has anything to gain from me. I'm not sending you money. I'm not sending you food. I'm not working for you, nor your criminal corporations. So I'll trust the person telling the story. And the worst part, or the best part, no, the worst part is, if they tell you a story and they lie to you, why do you care? Like, you know, I don't really care that people lie. You can tell me about some mermaids, Bigfoot, being Durrell, or whatever you want, flat earth. To me, they're interesting stories. I like interesting things. But things sit in the back of my mind. Like, so I think, Shindig, I heard of the Act of 1850, or the Invention Security Act 1851, but I didn't pay it no mind. I just kind of brushed back. In fact, back then, I don't think I was reading the laws to confirm things. But now that, here we come forward, Bob Lazar and about a couple others mentioned that they take these secret technology that they patent and you can't work on. It's not allowed in the public domain, but they farm it out to decompartmentalize to other aircraft makers and tech companies, engineering firms. So no one really has the whole. But what they put together, they bring back together, and they create these flying craft, you know? And so that's what, in my opinion, that's what shindig we see in that 1800 is it is definitely an EMG, they call it electromagnetic drive device craft. But they had to have a law to ban in the public domain anybody who could figure that out. Anyone who worked for them, who wanted to go in the public domain and do it. See, I like whistleblowers, a lot of stuff in my head at the moment. I like whistleblowers, I mostly like the old ones. Because the older you get, the less you give two damns about, you know, what they can do to you. So these people on their deathbed, and like the guy who sat up and was like, "It's aliens," and he showed everybody the pictures. He died. And there was a couple others. There's one from Roswell who did that. He security guard was a security guard or the doctor, I forgot which one. He told everybody, "Yep, we got the bodies. That little soft stuff that they showed you, the mylar, that was not what we found on the at the ranch." And they said there wasn't one site, there were two sites. We went to both sites before we even reported it to the government. So I like old whistleblowers who get old and up in age because their NDAs expire, or they just get so old that they don't really care. Like, I'm dying and there's no way I'm going to my deathbed without my kids and grandkids, great grandkids, and the human race knowing the things that I work on. So I find it interesting, the older.
Hi, I'm Carrie Cassidy from Project Camelot, and I am here today with a very honored guest. Actually, I should say guest, but Michael Schratt is joining us, and he's going to be helping to ask some good questions to our...
And before we get going, how is this relevant to anyone new? They made the world so hard so you would stay in conflict with others every day, so you couldn't live free. This is how they control the world. They have to divide and conquer, and you can't do that when people have abundance and they share modern technology with you.
Very honored guest, and this is Bill Tompkins, and he is a phenomenal individual and a very courageous individual. And it's rare when you get someone like this who will come forward and tell the truth. And we've been waiting a long time for this, let me say that. So Michael Schratt is an aerospace historian, and very happy that he's here with us today. He has a very thorough background in aerospace history, and so that's going to be a lot of help, actually. You may disagree with me, but I think you might be the first witness to come forward in the area of the secret space program, black projects, and who is actually, in a sense, sanctioned, being backed up by a section of the military, I would say. Now, I don't know if you'd see it like that. I certainly know you're backed up by the Nordics, but I'm talking earthly civilization here. And I think in that case, maybe the Navy is behind bringing you forward, but I don't know if you're actually willing or even able to elaborate on that. But go ahead.
Well, actually, it's sort of a situation where I'm still involved with the Navy, and I'm actually having to participate in naval programs. So I'm going to discuss as much as I can. You're going to hit me with some questions, and I won't be able to answer. So I think the easiest way to just start this is to go back to 1942. Actually, for whatever reason, I was selected by some people in the Navy, Naval Intelligence, to essentially be assigned a program to discuss the U.S. Navy secret space operators who have been operating in Germany, trying to understand the tremendously complicated agreement between the SS and the Draco reptilian group who were assisting Germany. So this had actually gotten started much earlier with a very lovely young lady in Germany who was contacted by Nordic people to essentially get her friends to develop the necessary requirements to build a large space transport, get their friends and the family to join into this, and essentially leave the planet and go to another star's planetary system.
And this is Maria Orsic.
That's correct. And so she actually was doing this from like the late 20s, 1930s. And it ended up in the studies that I got involved in with the information from the operatives, Navy operatives coming back from Germany, into Admiral Ricobata's secret conference room at the top building, Naval Air Station San Diego. He's commander, Naval Air Station San Diego, but he has a hobby, okay? And this hobby is roughly 28, 29 naval operatives who in 1942 and possibly early in 41 were continually going back to Germany and studying all over the different research organizations what it was that the agreement had actually been made with Hitler, the SS, and the Draco reptilian people.
Okay, but if this is happening in 41 or 42, the war is not over.
The war is still on. But this young lady that we're talking about had been contacted by Nordic people to help her get an organization together with a great deal of extraterrestrial assistance to design a propulsion system, design a vehicle large enough to carry 40, 50,000 people, get in this vehicle and leave the planet. Now, the SS was not aware of this. When they found out about this, they took over a group of 1,442 people, which included scientists, it included shoe salesmen, it included farmers, it included top research technicians. All these people were contacted by the Nordic extraterrestrials to assist people in Germany to get a vehicle built. So now we have a whole lot of civilians, nothing to do with the military, and with absolutely no desire to have the military involved in this extraterrestrial event. Okay? Real important. When the SS found out what they were doing, they took over everything that she had structured and organized, all 1,443 people. They had been hawking their farms. They had been getting everything they could possibly get in the way of money to design and build massive size spacecraft transports. That's not what the SS wanted. So they took over this facility and they jumped in and grabbed everything. After only 2 months, Hitler made the decision, let her and her organization go ahead with what they're doing.
Now, this is why this was interesting to me. I've never heard this story before. I used to follow this stuff a lot, but I've never heard these pieces of the puzzle put in, which is interesting to me. I want to go through a few things. I'm going to tell you how logic, how it's working in my mind real quick. One, who's it? Shindig listener? Yeah, don't trust me at all. I tell people all the time, don't trust me. Trust me enough to go do your research, right? Like, I'm just throwing things out there. You know, it's collectively when we like all look into this and process how it makes sense, what doesn't make sense, what you've heard, what you've seen, and like bring it back to a hive mind. That's how I think the human race is supposed to work. So a couple things on this. One, it was interesting to me because I never heard this story before. The idea that an alien race would contact through ESP or whatever, some sort of warmongering psychopathic Hitler, because you can't say his name, they're flagging that everywhere now, to help him conquer the planet. I was just like, yeah, that's great. That's a stretch. It's a stretch for me. But hearing it said this way, the idea, and he said it was the, I forgot if he said it was the reptilians or no, it was the Nordics initially, that they were contacting farmers and engineers and this lady and 1,000 others to get together to build a spacecraft during a war to get 40,000 people off the planet. What does that sound like to you? I tell you what it sounds like to me. To me, it sounds like an ark. It sounds like Noah's Ark. Not that that's the story, but what would we do? What would we do if we knew Africa was sinking, some tsunami or something? No, not Africa, say an island. Tasmania. Tasmania was sinking, you know, or a tsunami was about to hit it. If we could save people, we would, because we do it all the time. If we could save animals, we would, because we do it all the time. So we wouldn't send them instructions for how to build a boat, but we just go pick them up, bring them here. So it's a little weird to me. I would think that the Nordics would come get us if they could, if they thought that the world was in like a world war. So there's some logic there. I'm still processing this because this is the first time I've even heard of this. So I guess the Nazis found the facility, that they weren't reaching out to help Hitler or the rest of his crew, that they were just trying to get the most peaceful people and bring them back and perhaps save 40,000 human beings on an ark to get them out of here. A ship that can hold 40,000 people, that's weird to me too. So, or maybe it was just 1,000 people. I have no idea. But it's interesting that they do see the big aircraft that fly around. That the big triangles, that's interesting. It was the Phoenix Lights when all the people in Phoenix came out and saw these big massive UFOs flying over. I still think that was Space Force, but so it's interesting. It's interesting. I'm not saying that I'm jumping on it. It's just interesting, the idea, because that's what we would do. And that kind of sounds like an arc story. The other thing he had mentioned that, yeah, so I always go back to stuff from my past too, Shindig. I mean, you can trust that when I say something, it's what I saw. It's what I heard. I don't know how true it's going to be, but we are in dire straits. We are at the end of who knows what the hell is going on. So when I say something, it's because it's solid as I know it to be solid. That's one thing I would say don't trust, but I'm gonna tell you, from me to you, you can trust. I'm not here to play. If I'm sitting here in one of the most criminal colonies on the planet, because we're not a nation, we're a colony, and everything is watched, everything is checked. We shoot kids in the street for growing plants. And for me to come on here and say the things that I do it because it's the right thing to do. I don't really give a damn what happens to me. Like these old whistleblowers. When you get older, like, you know what, I didn't live my life, my kids are grown, it's time for me to do the right thing. And that's what I think these brothers are up to. So, and one thing I did see is I did see in different places that I've been, there are quiet engineered things that don't see the light of day. They're created in engineer firms, they're packaged, packed up for military or DOD, Pentagon, whatever you want to call it, and they're sent off, and the people who work in those facilities never see what that technology is. So the idea that governments are building something secret, that shouldn't surprise anybody, right? That's how they have skunk works. That's how they built the SR-71. It's how they built the U-2. It's how they built all the other UFOs. So to me, this is all very interesting. The other thing was he mentioned, the other thing from a common sense perspective, right? Everything is human control. Everything is slavery. Everything is a plantation. How I started off with this conversation with my brother. Everything that they do is about controlling you. Kings and lords, feudalism never stopped. It just changes forms, and you got these government colonial management type things that people get out there and vote for. I have no idea, right? They're plantations. It's the tax plantation, it's a human farm plantation, but nowadays It's a busy plantation. It's something that they do to keep people busy because they obviously don't want to share resources and what they're utilizing to probably make these craft and to dominate the planet. Everything for me is about slavery. Everything is about, if you could help people and you want to help people, you would help people if you had what it took to help people. Right? So back to the Federal Reserve, right? Doing this MMT, printing this money for people. If they wanted to help people, they would have done it a long time ago. They never printed money and given to me. This is the first time that this has happened. And it's because we're coming to some sort of an end, right? Everything is about enslavement.
We're going to be working with the Draco reptilian group. So now we have two groups that we can get, and we can cut into them anytime we want. We can take it over again anytime that it was necessary. So actually, they allowed the second time for this group to design and build these spacecraft transports, with which many of them later on, even during the war and after the war, to leave the planet. Some of them went out and came back. They actually had large facilities that they utilized as in underground facilities in Antarctica. The Draco reptilian people had two enormous caverns. And I don't want to get off into that subject now. We can talk about it later.
It gets a little deep for me with the alien species. It's I try as hard as I can to believe some things. Some things are a stretch for me, like the Dracos are an alien race. And in my head, I can put it together and say, the human beings came from monkeys, right? So it came from monkeys, whatever. We were simians, something altered our DNA, blah, 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 whatever. Before that, we're reptile-looking dinosaur things. And so, yeah, something could have altered their DNA and could even go on before that. So I can kind of get down with that. It's hard. It's hard to hear about things that were totally kept from me, but it's a lot of damn solar systems out here. Is why I try to keep an open mind with everything. Why would they choose the Germans? Ivana, something the ETs know that we don't. I would guess at the time, Ivana, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe at the time the Germans were among the best engineers on the planet. I think that the most advancements were being made in Germany to cars, trains, things like that, and the rest of the world revered them. So if I were a botanist, if I were a zoologist, and I wanted to go study monkeys, some apes, some chimps, and I knew that there were some that were in the Stone Age that were starting to use tools, and the rest were kind of just still sticking fingers up their butts and sniffing them to find out where the good bananas were. Swinging from trees, killing each other and eating their prey, eating each other. I would go study the ones. I'd be most interested in the ones that seem to make the most advancements, in terms of being able to utilize tools. So that's why I think that they chose the Germans. And plus it was during war. Maybe Germany was the safest place because they were invading everybody else. So I think there could be real. Facilities in Antarctica are real after all. Ivana would say yes. I would say yes, because then that links in with Admiral Byrd. I would say yes because of Operation Hijaw, right? They classified it for a reason. They didn't want people to know, and they still really don't want people to know about it. It was a Freedom of Information Act request, I believe, that got them to force them to reveal it. Somebody fact check me, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe they sent at least one aircraft carrier and 33 other ships, a couple thousand sailors after the war to Antarctica. And they wouldn't have done that unless there was something significant when they got down there. And of course, you can get into Admiral Byrd's diary afterwards. But there was definitely a significant military, if not engineering target of them going to Antarctica. So I would say yes. And then, of course, they wrote the law, which is why I tell people to read the law. The Antarctic Pact, I forgot the name of it, where everyone is banned from going down there. Nations can't even go down there unless they're part of the pact. We don't even know what's in the pact. All we know is we don't get to go there unless you are working for one of the companies that takes you down there. And when while you're down there, there's restriction of motion in terms of where you can go, what you can do.
But there are caverns all over this planet which different extraterrestrial civilizations have been using okay,
That
for
fits
thousands
with
of years.
Clifford Stone's stories. That fits with the stories, the reports of hearing explosions and people feeling like there's some sort of drilling or something work going on out of their houses. So Clifford Stone, if I remember right, he said that when you dig down deep, you'd find caverns and there are other species that live down there. And to me, it kind of makes perfectly good sense. I'm fine with it because they said it in India, they said it in Egypt, they said it in the Aborigines, the Native Americans said it. So you add all that up, I'm gonna take that over what they teach in government indoctrination school. that there are hollow spaces within the earth, you know, whether they're liquid or hollow or cavernous. And if you were a species who wanted to do a long-term exploration study or live on a planet, you would not be stupid us and live on the surface. You would live in a sustainable place. You'd build your facilities and your laboratories in places that polar shifts, super volcanoes, tsunamis, and asteroids wouldn't bother. It would be on the inside. And then you got a lot of people in the Navy who say that as well, that the USOs, right, the unidentified submersible objects, where they see these things just dart in the water and then slow down. They just go through air, through water, and they suspect that they go into caverns under the earth.
Now, back to the SS. What the operatives found was an unbelievable series of situations that literally...
Hang on, whoa, both font now. I gotta address this one, hold on. So aliens and UFOs, that's a distraction to some people? I'd love to address that. Why would anybody think that? Why would anybody think free energy is a distraction? Why would anybody on a slave plantation think that the shackles that hold you, the gravity that bars us from living free lives, that keeps everybody in conflict, like the whole reason that Antifa is on the street with Black Lives Matter fighting with the other side is free energy, right? They keep energy from people. This is why I always go back to the Invention Security Act. When people have the resources they need, they don't become monsters. We're being kept in survival mode. So to me, it's not a distraction. It's the most prominent conversation that everybody on this planet needs to have is ending slavery. When you end slavery, people have abundance. When people have abundance and they're happy, consciousness is possible. We don't get the consciousness by any other means. So to me, it's definitely not a distraction. There's no more significant story on this planet than them finally admitting that this EMG technology is real. And people don't need to slave. Nobody needs to die of starvation. None of the wars need to happen for fossil fuels. You know, the whole climate change thing, right? You've got how many people out there fighting climate change? Fossil fuel caused climate, or fossil fuel sped up climate change. Hundreds of millions of people, very passionate about that. And if they understood that we've been kept on fossil fuels, the world would change overnight. That many people. Right? So to me, it's not a distraction. It's a distraction to debate whether or not the Nazis were in bed with, and maybe it's what you're saying, you know, whether the Nazis talked to the Norgonics, the Dracos, the praying mantis, what the aliens look like, where they go, what to do. To me, that's it's interesting. Don't get me wrong. I have interest in what other kind of aliens are out there. Don't get me wrong. I do. But it's not interesting right now. Right now, the only interest is humans need to find love again. They need to find consciousness. And the only way they're going to find that is if we give them abundance. Now, we can go through this whole setup. Like I talk about the build growth facilities, feed people, use 3D printing, print houses for the homeless. We can do that on modern technology. We could do that on modern technology from 20 years ago. But if we actually end secrecy on what I consider as the worst human rights violation we have on this planet, that any government has any secret form of energy propulsion, that people die from not having energy, keeping us slaves to gravity, who knows how quickly that could happen? Like, we don't even know what's true. That's the crazy thing about this. We don't even know the levels of technology that they have. So to me, it's not a distraction. It's the most important discussion that we need to have is getting people to a consciousness space. Oh, the other thing I'm gonna say on that, the lockdowns, right? The lockdowns alone are making people fall back in love. Yeah, they cause some divorces too. People not supposed to be together, but, but it's the truth. It's the truth. If you can't stay at home with somebody 7 days a week, then why the heck did you marry that person? Right? People are learning how to parent better. They're learning how to be better wives and better husbands. People are sitting at home now, they're in their yards and they're gardening. And they don't want to go back to work. That's a huge thing. This might be our first step towards a conscious population. People are actually like, you know what? I'm doing what I want to do. And that's what we need. We need everybody doing what they want to do. Happy people will create a pleasant world. But this is artificial, right? This is artificial. It's artificial because the Federal Reserve is just printing money. They're keeping us in the same enslavement system by just printing money for people. So anyway, no, I don't think this is a distraction. I think it's the most important topic going.
When they gave their briefings to Admiral Riccobotta, we also have one at least of 3 other Navy captains in his office at the time of this briefing to sort of set the stage for this.
Okay, can I get the year that they did the briefing with Riccobotta?
1942.
Still during the war.
Still during the war.
Incredible. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, Admiral Riccobotta, well, there was a large table. The operative sat on the other side of the table. Admiral Riccobotta sat here, I sat next to him, and one of the 3 Navy captains sat next to me. The typist sat at the end of the table. That's the only people that were in there. We always had the same people. Essentially, all of these meetings, all of these disclosure meetings took place at night. The Admiral's aide would wake me up, sleeping in my barracks. He tapped me on the shoulder, and all he said was, "He's here." He escorted me across the facility over to this tall building, which is the command center at Naval Air Station San Diego. There's a small office near the top of this. That's where these disclosure meetings took place. So these operatives then brought back this information, which is, even Admiral Riccobotta said, "I don't believe one word you're saying, young man." That came up over and over.
Okay, can I ask you the name of the other Navy captain, or are we not to know who that is?
Actually, I have to say I can't remember it right now, so that gets me out of it. Okay.
Yeah. All right.
But I really don't remember.
Okay.
Okay. But these operatives themselves didn't believe some of the information that they had to bring back, and so all they tried to do as best they could is present a package of information. Some of it even had manuals, okay? Some of the manuals were in hieroglyphics. All of the manuals were in German. Then they had photographs taken inside of research facilities in Germany. They had photographs of UFOs. They had photographs of maintenance people working on UFOs.
So interesting, but you see that that's the one that got me right there. As soon as I heard that, I was like, what? Excuse me? Hieroglyphics, how does that fit in? And then that links up with what, of course, Bob Lazar said, what the Emerald Tablet said, what the ancient Vimanas, you know, all these stories from around the world. Most of these cultures look up and there's guys, so it actually makes sense, like, wow, so these ancient cultures knew about this. I think it was Saj Guru that was talking about, there was the temple that talked about the Vimana and had the schematics for, or part of the schematics for, I guess, how they work. We did that a few months ago. So I appreciate that, Shindig listener. This is what we do. This is what we do. This is how we get down. I can't fact check everything. It's just too damn much. So thank you for that. It's called the Inventions Secrecy Act. It's not Security Act. I keep saying security. The Inventions Secrecy Act. This is somebody who's looking things up, and this is how we get down. Expansion theory does not support aliens visiting visiting us based on speed of light. Unless wormholes exist, aliens are us of the future. And I kind of think that we are in the future, Joanne, coming back. But I think there's a lot that goes on that we don't understand. I think that there are species that come here. To me, expansion theory is a thing, but if gravity isn't really real, and I think Einstein said gravity is it's a part of the equation of gravity, electricity, and something else. And his point was, and time, right? If you solve two with an equation, then you can solve the other. And if you do that, then distance means nothing, right? Distance means nothing, and time means nothing. You could actually suspend time and you could travel and be anywhere, pausing expansion theory, right? To me, how I think about it, Joanne, is that the human being is a manifestation engine, right? Like, we know the things that we think about, we always create. There's nothing we've ever thought about we didn't create. From boats to cars to wheels to spacecraft, traveling, everything we've thought about, we've actually eventually did. So I think human beings are manifestation engines, and I think looking across the galaxy eventually will do that. Understanding time, eventually we will make a time machine. And if we make a time machine, ain't no way you stopping human beings from going back. You can't stop people from getting unicorn lattes. They're the carcinogens. They're not saving grandmama. You can't stop people from eating donuts and jelly donuts. Cops gotta chase people on the street and they eat jelly donuts. There's no way you're gonna stop human beings in the future from coming back. So I think that answers that. Congratulations, your genius patent is now a military secret. Okay, you're watching the show, blah, blah, blah. Good topic. Thank you, Yvonne. I think it is a good show. I think it's an important topic, and it fits right in with banking and debt and where we are right now. You know, if people know what's actually true, then we can do what we need to do. As long as we live in a false society, a society where there are any lies or secrecy in terms of science or medications or biology or physiology, we're a slave plantation. You know, we are slaves on a plane. We're not even slaves, we're commodities, but for the sake of argument, we'll say we're slaves. The master never gives us, the slaves, the healthcare master gifts. Like, do you think there were any masters that would use modern medicine to help their slaves? No, slaves get free healthcare, but it's not gonna be the best of the best. And this is the same way, right? We live on a slave plantation. We have no idea what's true in terms of technology or healthcare. So a lot of people die. Perhaps we don't have to. That's the truth, love, and consciousness. That's the truth, Desiree. If we can get by any means necessary, we have to get people to consciousness, or we will not change anything. Because that's what's wrong with the human race. We're afflicted with tribalism that came from chimp existence, and there's so many people who are so lost in that we can't seem to get them out of it, right? The governments limit resources, artificial scarcity, they keep people in survival mode, and so you've got the white people fighting the black people fighting white people, and local people fighting immigrants, these people left fight, and it's pointless. All the conflicts are ignorant. All the conflicts are useless when you know that we're not up on modern technology. We don't have a governing system that's based in modern technology. We have a governing system that's based in technology that they allow in the public domain. Good, yes, a lot of the new garden are growing here also. Okay, good. We'll watch a little bit more of it, then we can jump over to the Federal Reserve, stimulating with Viagra the people on the planet, the people, the citizens.
These had photographs inside of the UFOs.
Okay, now I want to ask.
All right, no, listen. So I love that because that's what Bob Lazar talked about. So we know that these craft have been here for a very long time. And Bob Lazar, if I misquote him, which is what I'll probably do, he said that there were craft that looked like they were ancient, and he thought he saw writing that was ancient, something to that effect. Some of the UFOs were new. He said he saw 12. Some of them looked like they were ancient, that they came from some site. Thoth, an Emerald Tablet, said he hid his spaceship under the paw of the Sphinx in case the human race ever needed it. And the Emerald Tablets disappeared, which means that the CIA has them.
Ask you something, because these operatives, you're calling them operatives, were these regular human beings, and how were they getting access to Germany at this time to get this information? Was this something that they were allowing the Americans to have? What was the relationship?
Okay, basically,
Were they spies?
all of these young men were either lieutenant JGs or full lieutenants in the Navy's intelligence. These people were all American German family people. all of these fellas knew Germany. They even knew all the accents in different areas in the surrounding countries. These are beautiful guys who were dedicated themselves to be essentially spies for the U.S. Navy.
Okay.
Now, this was totally unaware with the Air Force.
All right.
Everything that I'm talking about is on the Navy side of what took place way back then.
Right.
Okay? So these operatives would bring back photographs of the different vehicles. They would bring back data, sometimes documents, all in German, and or some of it in what was then considered to be the closest thing was to be essentially hieroglyphics that we found later on underneath the pyramids. Okay? So that's the best description I can give you of what some of the data was. Obviously, this was information that was not given to Germany by extraterrestrials using English language, where otherwise many meetings that took place later on with extraterrestrials, they could give you the information in 10 or 20 different languages. But that's not what we got, okay?
So it's interesting the level of detail he's going to. It's interesting that that everything he's saying can be proven true or false. Right? He's not throwing just random bones out there. And this is why I appreciate Stephen Greer. I think it's not Bassett, I think it's Stephen Greer, right? The Disclosure Project, because he's using professionals, right? He's using government staff. He's using people who were FBI, people who were military police, people who were in the military, and people who worked on these dark projects, people who worked in these private corporations, who worked on some devices, who suspected that they got decompartmentalized information, that worked on some of these EMG type crafts. So everything he's saying can be proven, right? Government, they don't get rid of any of that. They're not gonna get rid of pictures of UFOs and control panels and information and schematics. They'll never get rid of it. You have the invention, well, of course you got the Invention Secrecy Act, but then you have the Freedom of Information Act, right? And this is why they redact the things that they do. Nikola Tesla, they say about 20% of his notes you still can't read. They completely redact it from you because it would help you to make an EMG device, right? The truth is documented and it can be proven factual. It is mind-blowing, Christine, but it actually makes a lot of sense. It doesn't make any sense if we're the only game in town. It doesn't make any damn sense if we are the only narcissistic, salt-of-the-earth game in town, right? If the solar systems are populated like this planet is, in terms of there's life everywhere from lava and silicone based, and at the bottom of the ocean at sea vents, and everywhere we say life couldn't possibly exist, we find life. In that cave with those massive crystals, what 5 miles or whatever it is under the planet, and there's life down there, there's bacteria living, there's life literally everywhere. So it makes perfectly good sense. It's just, it's being kept from us. Or something else he said. So I like the fact of using professionals, because everything he says can be proven or disproven.
So they would actually attempt to tell this panel everything that they were able to find and what was most important. And we then would take that information, and I had 11 or 12 young ladies who could take this information, which the first girl typed, run copies of, and then put together different, what they called packages, which essentially were proposals, okay? These proposals then were then to be disseminated around the United States in secret facilities. Now I want to make one point very clear here. Actually, what was on the Rinse radio program last night was a document that actually was put together later at Douglas, because Douglas got one of these packages. I personally took it to Santa Monica Douglas as one of the first of 4 top, not aerospace, aircraft companies, which became aerospace later on. Remember, everything that we're talking about here, I don't know how to make this clear. You're trying to decipher, you're trying to understand, not just other extraterrestrial people information, but everything that you're getting is totally unreal to every single PhD on the planet. I have to say, people don't realize what took place in 1942 in the Naval Air Station at San Diego. This is unbelievable. And it's not just a statement of unbelievable, you couldn't understand it. When the documents were then taken, and I had to use one of the 2 airplanes that Admiral Riccobotta had. He had a twin-engine Lockheed Electra, which we used to fly back in the eastern part of the country to laboratories and naval bases. And then he had a 7-passenger high-wing single-engine plane, which we flew to Douglas and into Lockheed, out on the desert to the Navy facilities out there. So we put together rough information, and I want to try to explain what that information was. All it consisted of was a typed version of what the operative said, copies of that. Okay. Some documents, some photographs, some written notes, like there might be as many as 30 pages of written notes that the operative would give to the admiral.
Okay, now I'm going to stop you there and ask you, Riccobotta and yourself, can we get a little background on why you 2 guys were so instrumental in this process?
Okay. No, we're not doing aliens today, Stacy. I would do aliens every day if I could. No, I like to do free energy. Free energy. I don't do aliens. I do free. Aliens are interesting in a time where people aren't starving and dying in their houses, when wars aren't on every single continent on the planet. No, it's free energy. This is not aliens. This is free energy. Like I said, I'm not into psychopathic aliens that watch the human race kill itself. We don't even do that. And we're psychopathic. We are psychopathic as a tribe. We'll sit back and we'll watch, well, we won't. Some of us will. Mike Vick, like, they'll sit back and watch dogs eviscerate each other. So if there are any aliens walking on the planet, there's something wrong with them. They need to go ahead and go. They're psychopathic. No, the human race does not. There is a such thing as letting people figure it out, let the human race figure it out. And then there's a thing that you just enjoy watching people blow each other up with nuclear devices. No, we're not. I'm just, all of this feeds together. The alien part, I don't want to divulge in. I want to talk about why people don't have to work. Here's the banking part. Here's the Federal Reserve. So this is why I say all of this fits together. They are literally keeping the human race busy while they make massive amounts of technology, and God knows what they're up to. Who knows what they're doing? Who knows? But human life is not among this agenda. Keeping people at war with each other, keeping kids in the street fighting with cops and burning down buildings and voting, right? Engaging in narcissistic, sociopathic activity, hating each other because of their skin or fighting each other because of their skin. That all goes away with free energy.
Max Kaiser, this is
Here's
the
free money.
Kaiser Report. First of all,
free energy,
big
free money.
thank you to RT Espanol, one of our shows, and all of our shows are dubbed into Spanish, has over 1 million views just from last week. Oh my gosh, that's incredible. Now,
this is
for
the free
everybody
money
out there who wants to follow Max and Stacy on Telegram, we have our own Telegram group at t.me/orange pill.
All right, Matt.
Thousands of people.
Let's get into it.
And Brazil, you know, it's a little bit warm down there. It's heading into their warm season. I guess Brazil's always warm, but
Caliente.
yeah. Let's see.
I know that because it's the title of Gato Barbieri album from the 70s that I used to listen to.
Caliente, sí. Anyway, yes, thank you for RT en Español, actualidad. You know, we like...
We're doing introductions, but do you see what I'm saying when I say all this is related? Like, there are people who like UFOs and aliens, and if you can show them that that's attached to central banking and control and hyperinflation and enslaving you by keeping the information from you, like, they don't really care if you know about aliens or UFOs. They just don't want you to have access to the technology, and they keep you enslaved through banking and by hiding certain information from you. And people who are into banking and economics and politics, same exact thing. The reason those things are a thing is because they're keeping that information from you. And this is why I say it's all related. It's all 100% related. And until you get a look from the 30,000 foot perspective, you'll have no idea what's happening on this planet. You'll have no idea how to fix anything because you'll still be out there politicking, thinking the Republicans are the problem or the Democrats are the problem, and that's not the problem. You don't actually have a government is the problem. You have a colony. You have colonial management. You have feudalism. They keep you in conflict with other people because you don't have the full picture. So I try to do things in a way that gives the full picture.
The news in Spanish, and we thank you for tuning in. But, you know, we're going to talk about, because, you know, there's not that much exciting stuff happening in the world, is there?
Right.
Oh, boy. Well, I found this story interesting. Just the headline, you could tell where it's all going. The $2.2 trillion coronavirus relief package passed by the House includes a complete ban on eviction and foreclosure filings for the next 12 months. It only passed the House of Representatives. It doesn't look yet like it might ever pass the Senate, but nevertheless, they're thinking of a ban on foreclosures for the next 12 months.
The Federal Reserve loves you, people. In case you didn't know, the Federal Reserve, it now loves you.
Big issue in terms of the properties that will no longer be paying rent, of course, means that the landlords who are equally in financial straits will not be able to pay back loans to the banks, and the banks are in equal financial straits, and they will not be able to service their portfolio, meaning that central bank would have to bail them out. But the central bank is already completely constrained with their ability to bail out the system anymore after been bailing out the system nonstop for 12 years, as you know, watching this show. So this is just another piece of the sinking of the global financial Titanic. They hit the iceberg in 2008. There's an excellent video on YouTube, by the way. They've got a real-time enactment of the sinking of the Titanic, all 2 hours and 25 minutes of it. It's gorgeous. And you know, you notice that the big time sinking of the Titanic doesn't happen until the last 20, 25 minutes. You know, that's where we're at now, the beginning of the end.
Right. Well, that is what we have been doing here for the past 11 years on Kai's Report, looking at the sinking of the central bank fiat Titanic. And here is a headline along these same lines where we're looking at, you know, the threat of a ban on eviction and foreclosures. Well, on the one hand, you're saying, well, you know, Blackstone is now the largest private landlord in America, so ha to them. But, you know, on the other hand, the Fed has their back, has Blackstone's back. They get to dump their bad debts, like all these foreclosures that aren't allowed to happen, and Blackstone is the largest private landholder. They'll be able to dump it on the Fed's balance sheet. So, you know, Schwartzman at Blackstone will never have to pay for this, but the small landlords will pay for that. Here.
Right, and this is, Ivana, what you're talking about, and this is how this works. Everything is keeping everyone in conflict with one another. So they're saying a ban on evictions and which is a good thing to most people. It's a horrible thing to small landowners, right? Because the small landlords, that's a lot of people live on their income. A lot of people live on their rental income. They got kids too. You know, but you've got people on the bottom and they're like, yeah, but you're a white supremacist. We don't care. We're fine with you not having anything. So, but they're black ones too. But so the thing is keeping them in conflict. Millionaires, probably even small billionaires. But the biggest landowners will be fine. The biggest landowners, the ones who can get a check take with the Federal Reserve, are fine. So as long as the middle class and the upper middle class, a lower portion of the upper class are fighting the middle class, they're fine with that. So this is where I say, like, politics is just robbing Peter to pay Paul. That's all it is. And that's what they're doing. right? As long as you keep people in conflict with each other, it doesn't matter what they're in conflict over, right? And so you got half the people who are cheering, or most people who are cheering for it, the other people who know it's going to bankrupt them. And this is where we need that consciousness, right? We need the ability to say, you know what, I get that. You did something for me and I appreciate that. However, you need to look out for my landlord. You need to look out for the people above me. You can't just look out for me and I'm good with that. I need to think about everybody. And this is what consciousness is, right? This is what being sentient is. It's sensing all people and where they are. And this is where I stand on reparations. I have no interest in reparations. Because the only reason they would give me reparations, these criminals above me, is because they want me to stay in conflict with the poor whites who lost land as well. They went through bad times as well. Now, mind you, I was never a slave, not that kind of slave. We never were a landowner, not that kind of landowner. We were all born like 5 minutes ago. But it's robbing Peter to pay Paul. And this is what politics is. Somebody did a great meme the other day. You know, it had Republicans and Democrats and like, you know, yay, we won, which means that we can force the other half of the population to live how we say they must live, right? It's that narcissistic psychopathy. And this is why I have no interest in politics, because politics is all about robbing Peter to pay Paul, and it's useless in a time when we know we have enough resources for everybody. And it's not by taxing the wealthy or the upper middle class or the upper class or the elites. It's just simply about releasing modern technology that's being held up by the Invention Secrecy Act of 1951. Do y'all see what I'm saying when I say this? You know, only a fool would be in conflict with someone else who does not have what they need. And no one in your country owns land. Nobody owns any land. The only votes, and I posted this yesterday, the only votes that actually count in this country are landowners. And that's how the original Constitution was set up. I posted yesterday and Beaufont was correcting it. I was trying to trap people. I don't know if I trapped anyone. But I just said only landowners' vote counts, right? And a lot of people, because they own a house, they think they own the land. They don't own the land. They pay taxes on the land. The government will take the land anytime they want to pipeline through the land, or they want to sell the land to a private corporation, or just minerals on your land, or they just want you to live in a city that's highly secure because it is a smart city to control you with social credit score, to keep you working as a slave, put you in a digital plantation and give you that digital dollar. So nobody owns any land. And so if you think about the beginning of America, only male white landowners could vote. And that was less than 2%, I believe. Somebody can check the math on that. And so where we are today, only landowners vote counts. And who are the landowners? And they don't have elections. They don't vote. They vote with checks, right? They write checks. The people who own the resources were the original people who were allowed to have say in their government. And even today, only the people who own resources have say. Because you don't have a government. The Republic was suspended. You have the United States Incorporated.
Here we're looking at the difference between the big and the small, why we have the rising wealth and income gap. And it looks like the Fed is starting to notice this. And their answer is what the people have been demanding, essentially MMT, modern monetary theory, that if you could print money for the banks, why not for us? And I want to add that one of our first episodes ever, the first 5 episodes of Kai's Report, we spoke to Steve Keen in 2009, and he said that we should have quantitative easing for the people rather than for the banks. And this is what it looks like the Fed is going to get ready to do. What's behind the Fed's project to send?
Because it's the end. So they will finally do what a lot of our friends were calling for, was MMT. But it doesn't really matter. It's the end. The dollar, this is just the final death nail, that they're destroying the dollar. It's done. That's the only reason that they would do anything for the people, because this is finally coming to an end. There was something else there, but there's a lot.
Send free money to people directly. So on September 23rd, Cleveland Fed President Loretta Mester spoke, and she basically flagged that something called the central bank digital currency is coming. And because the Fed, their system that they're building could be faster than Congress or the IRS, which has taken, some people still haven't received their IRS stimulus checks of $1,200, for example. So basically what she's saying is that all residents, Americans, green card holders could get an account at the Fed, and within a few seconds you would be credited with this, and you can transfer it to like an app. Because
the Banking for All Act, somebody was trying to tell you about this. This is where they're going to screw you again.
A lot of people don't have banking accounts. So, but Wolf Richter here at wolfstreet.com does the does the breakdown of what's been happening, because obviously we've seen, especially since 2008, the Fed has been buying all those assets from the likes of Blackstone and pumping us asset prices. So property and equity prices, bond prices, everything. So had we used just from March during this pandemic, when we spent, the Fed has issued $3 trillion in credit. There are about 210 million adults in the US that the Fed decided to throw $3 trillion, not at the markets as it has done since March, but at Americans directly. It would translate into a lump sum payment of about $14,000 for each adult. So a household of 2 adults would get $28,000, whether this household is made up of a couple living in a tent or a couple shuttling between their mansions with billions of dollars in assets.
What this all means is that the United States economy resembles, to a large degree, the economies of countries that the United States typically makes fun of. You know, the US or the United Nations will send aid and they'll send money to countries, let's say, in Africa, for example, not to pick on Africa, but it does happen, where the money never gets distributed. It just ends up at the leaders of that particular country, and then they become fabulously wealthy. Here in America, this idea of printing money and distributing it, it doesn't work because the potentates and the kings in America, like Jamie Dimon, keep it. And we know this to be provably accurate because look at the money velocity number. It goes straight down to 0 because Jamie Dimon and his friends on Wall Street keep the money and they buy, huge chalets in the Hamptons. So America and some dysfunctional African country are almost exactly the same in this regard. Now, here's the problem with understanding by the central planners in America that the system is corrupt and they need to go directly to the people with these checks and with this money, is that this will mean the end of asset price inflation and the beginning of consumer price inflation in a big way. That'll be out of control, which means that the US dollar now, like the last 20 minutes in the Titanic film I just described, is about to go belly up.
So speaking of belly up, we're going to look at some 70s style sort of stagflation looking like it's coming. But I just want to quickly wrap up on that Fed story is like when the Congress agrees to issue a stimulus check, they have to go to the market and borrow. They have to issue a U.S. Treasury bond. Here, the Fed, what they're going to do with this is just credit people. They don't have to borrow it. They're just going to put it on their balance sheet on 2 different sides of their balance sheet. So it's going to be like magical money.
Well, this is the point, is that up until now, there's been this economic theory that this money printing is immunized in some way that doesn't cause dislocation. But now they realize that they did cause a massive asset bubble dislocation and massive wealth and income disparity and social unrest. So they have to jump into this crazy scheme of pumping cash directly that's not offset in any way. And that's going to cause CPI inflation in a real way, which is going to put the kibosh totally on the dollar.
Well, we're going to look at 2 little things here, a chart and a response to what's going on because of interest rates. Interesting chart. Things haven't been this bad for savers since the 70s. So this is a chart from JP Morgan, interest rates and inflation, nominal and real 10-year Treasury yields. And as you see, the real yields on basically we have negative inflation in the US now, just as we did back in the 70s when inflation was really high, interest rates were high and rising. And of course, Paul Volcker ended up taking them to 20%, thus destroying inflation. But we're seeing that savers are losing money. So, and if we're having negative rates here, real rates, then you're losing money on your savings. And I want to show you this interesting response to it because this is what we've been talking about, especially you've been talking about the Fed is causing deflation. And it says it creates a very negative feedback loop in the economy, this guy wrote, with rates this low, likely forever. Consumers have to save 5 to 8 times more in order to retire, which means higher savings, lower spending, lower GDP, debts don't deflate, they inflate, causing a spiral downwards.
Right, just a few years ago, you had $1 million in retirement, you'd get $50,000 a year in income. Now you've got to get $25 to $30 million in retirement to get the same kind of income in retirement. And so it's, again, using my Titanic metaphor, it's a little liquidity is great if it's coming in the taps and you're using it to mix cocktails in the first class lounge. But if there's a gash in the hull and it's pouring in and the boat is sinking, then that's not a good, that's too much liquidity. So the Fed, using what they call the Greenspan put, then became the Bernanke put, the Yellen put, the Jay Powell put, this need to bail out Wall Street at every moment of every day has gashed the hull of USS Titanic, and now it's sinking because of all that money printing. And no matter how much you try to bail out with your little dinky pail of policy, it's still torrentially coming in and people are dying. And that's this, we're at that last 20 minutes of the sinking. It's a great film, watch it.
Yeah, and you would have thought like they could have, instead of issuing all these trillions to Wall Street, and now they're like, oh, okay, we've left the ordinary person out for the last 20 years. Let's give them some money in the last 20 minutes, like save some women and children sort of thing. They could have just used all this free money as these last days of the exorbitant privilege and at least built some infrastructure, right? Because look at, China seems to know that this whole thing is going to blow up. And what have they been doing with this fake money while we're just like, I don't know, consuming their TikTok sort of videos, is they've been building infrastructure, right? Preparing for whatever happens next after this whole Fed derived sort of free money for Wall Street and now MMT for the people. Like we could have done something, produced something real for it.
Well, I mean, you see it in New York City, right? I just saw that an apartment on 28th Street near the High Line was listed at $50 million, sold for $20 million. So all that bidding up of these flats by that top banker class up to the 30, 40, 50 million, and now it's all resolving back to its median of getting closer to worth not much at all. It's the last 20 minutes for sure. The Telegram group is t.me/orange pill. That's where you find Max and Stacey 24/7. We're there 24/7. 24/7, we're there. And we're gonna be back after this message, so don't go away.
Hey, are you having trouble finding the clients of your dreams? I've been through the hamster wheel in the past where you have trouble finding clients and then you have to do the work for the clients too. And then the clients leave and you have to go back on this hamster wheel again and you're constantly looking for more work. Then you spread yourself too thin because you're trying to do work for 10 other people and it becomes difficult, right? How do you make it where you can duplicate yourself multiple times and be able to predictably create customers on autopilot? So I'm gonna show you how you can build a multi-7-figure agency of your dreams using the same playbooks that we've used. And not only that, it decreases your ad costs too, so you don't need to rely on paid advertising. Using this playbook, I've been invited to speak around the world. I've been invited to get some of the best recruits ever for my business and have a really great team that can run the business while I'm gone, evangelizing the business. You don't have to go through the same hamster wheel where you need to make the same mistakes I've made. Instead, you can sidestep the mistakes and then basically accelerate your growth past 6 figures, past 7 figures, past multiple 7 figures. These are literally the playbooks we use to take sites from 0 to 2 million visits a month and acquire our dream clients like Uber, Amazon, Salesforce, and more. All you have to do is click to register and we'll see you inside. So this is me clicking right now. Don't forget to register, click, and we'll see you inside.
Welcome back to the Kaiser Report. I'm Max Kaiser. Time now to go to Zeus Yamayanis. Zeus, welcome back. It's been a while.
It has been, Max. Thanks for having me back.
Always a pleasure. Now, you have written a 5-part series entitled When the World Market Itself is Fake, Economic Value Loses Any Real Meaning. Now, go over the big picture thesis here on what's happening to our economy and how we see that spilling over now into politics. Zeus, please.
What's happening is it's being hollowed out. For a long time now, the notion of value has been moved from the blood, sweat, and tears that people put in, which is where real value comes from. Creativity and effort and participation. And it has moved progressively from that to assignments of value, which are parasitically and predatorily siphoning off real value, which is creativity and real effort and real labor, into instruments which are essentially symbolic assignments, or they capture that value in symbolic ways and then use that to replace actual value. And as more and more of that gets siphoned off, as you saw, in the early 70s, a one middle-class job full-time could support a family, could support cars, could support even college. And now you have two people working full-time, and you can't support any of those things at this point. You're in total debt up to your ears. So one has to ask the question, what happened in that time? And what happened was increasingly world economic mechanisms started to favor a financial, frankly, lazy elite that saw a gold mine in basically mining people's own effort and mining people's own creativity. And it was only accentuated by these platforms that allow people essentially to be the fodder. And I just saw a movie called Social Dilemma, in which they said that when you are on a social media network, since it's, quote, free, you are the product and you're being sold to advertisers. And that is, I think, a great encapsulation, not only in terms of the way that we've been ripped off in our efforts and our creativity, but in the way we're now being used simply as fodder and data for greater and greater concentration of wealth.
So there's two main planks to this thesis, as I understand it, what you're outlining here. So first, you're saying that the value of stuff itself has been hollowed out and it no longer represents, I believe you said, labor, creativity, effort, and participation. That's one side of the equation. Then on the other side of the equation, we have people trading on various platforms items that have more symbolic value than actual value. We know we live in this age of memes, for example, and memes have incredible value. Apparently a meme of Pepe the Frog had a big impact in the 2016 election. I just saw that one of these very popular Korea pop or K-pop bands is going public at a multi-billion-dollar valuation. Tesla stock is mostly a meme. It's an idea. There's no really there. They're just trading, symbols and ideas. But we still live in a world governed by economic forces, supply, demand, and we still are economic animals and social animals. And you did mention there that value kind of comes out of labor. A lot of people would suggest that value is subjective. It's completely subjective. So on one hand, I see what you're saying here, but on the other hand, if in fact humans decide that memes are a currency and have value, it's not completely outside of what we've been doing now for hundreds of thousands of years in our trek as a species toward some form of virtual reality, it seems.
Yes, but here's the interesting thing. It's kind of come full circle. The most interesting thing about this whole COVID shutdown, at least anecdotally, and I've done some research on this, it seems like it goes beyond mere anecdote, is that when people were, quote unquote, forced into their homes to actually sleep, to actually binge watch, to actually be closed off of these associations, churches, sporting events, and distractions and so forth, there was a weird rediscovery of the fact that, wait a minute, we are being used. Wait a minute, we are being way overcharged and exhausted. Wait a minute, there's no end to this treadmill. So an interesting form of value came about, and that was the value of rest. I saw people walking on the street, on the road. We live out in the country. Finally, people were starting to come outdoors instead of just spending all day indoors watching football or something like that. So what's happening is, yes, and on one hand, like you say, our lives are becoming more virtual. You can like things and you think that you've actually done something when you really haven't. And that creates a perceptual value for you that you've actually done something, even though you actually have not. But we've also found a kind of weird opening for opportunity here where people realize they're the ones who create the system and they don't have to agree to it when they stay home. That's what really shifted the whole thing with the oil market into the negative territory, the oil futures, is because people were at home. And that also showed us something else, that our demand creates the power and the value for those people. When that demand isn't there, their value can sink to the negative territory. So I think it's a mixture right now. It's a mixture of real reality-based stuff. It's a mixture of virtuality and this new emerging thing, which is beginning to see non-material goods and what I call relationship capital as emerging values, where rest becomes important, health becomes important, and these are starting to emerge as values as well. None of these necessarily are compatible. They have a conversation and even a quarrel, but it's an interesting and fertile time right now.
I believe one.
So now you see why I like that one. Because when people stay at home, they're not creating something new. The value of rest. We return back to what we've always valued: consciousness, health, spending time with family, taking care of yourself, gardening, all the things that we need. And that's what comes from understanding that the invention security, security, not secrecy, no, secrecy. Shindig, Secrecy Act of 1951. You can stay home. So outside of the climate change people, getting them on board with understanding that they keep you on fossil fuels, and getting the other people to understand that you can stay home if they just released what they keep secret, because the 0.01% don't want the system to change, and your government and your politics, which is a governing corporation, is paid to keep these things from you. Interesting times we live in. All right, I'm gonna do comments and I'm gonna get out of here. Welcome to the reset. Yes, Sandra, it is the reset. Welcome to the jungle. Ain't no fun in games. Everybody gonna die if we don't grow up and love each other the same. I make up words that I go. The cuckoo virus has made those in power cuckoo for the power, which is why I call it the cuckoo virus, Joanne. They going cuckoo. They're taking everything they can, every way they can. They're looting the rest of the country, and they're giving the monkeys the scraps from the table. People are like, yeah, we're gonna get a $14,000 check. Yep, but first of all, no one told you what the value of that $14,000 is gonna be when you get the check. No one told you about what they're doing to rob you in dollars, because the check ain't gonna be in dollars. It's gonna be in digital dollars or Federal Reserve dollars. So I tell people to read the law, ignore the news. The news is designed to lie to you. Those are the king's edicts and the lies. They never give they never give people anything but debts. They never have, Angela. Now they're giving them money. So people should know that there is a scam coming along with that. I really don't think that aliens are psychopathic. We are. Well, Buddha, I'm kind of just, me. Listen, there's a lot of things that y'all know about me. And one thing is, I would not talk trash to people that got death alien rays and photon torpedoes and the ability to psychopathic ESP to make you go crazy. No, I'm just upset, a little upset, Buddha, that's all. I'm a little upset with the aliens, that's all. I was like, they're gonna sit here and watch us. Y'all gonna sit here and watch all this pedophilia, y'all ain't gonna do nothing? Y'all just gonna sit here and watch this, huh? You Mike Vickians. That's why Mike Vick aliens. And Mike Vick might be an alien. I'm just saying, this time y'all gonna do something. Y'all need to do something. If y'all look at my text messages, my brothers losing their damn mind. If y'all gonna do something, damn it, do something. Out here fighting this white supremacy. All right, it's funny. My brother texts stuff like, "Yeah, we got to do things for the black people because you ain't got nothing." I'm like, "Do you got something? Do you?" I know you got that degree. I know. Yeah, you living high on the hog, ain't you? That's the kind of the problem is the colonizer system helps people out too much and they forget other people. Yes, black people have a problem, and so do white people, but those people are not you. Okay? You went to college, got your degree. Anyway, I always help anybody I can that isn't as privileged as I am. And their skin color does not matter. I'm gonna do one thing more for one skin color or another. People need me and I can help you, I will help you. That is my obligation. It's not anything great, it's what human beings do. Not psychopathic people who believe in the colonization system and they're okay with colonization as long as it ain't them. As long as it's Bolivia, they're fine with it. But you mentioned Africa from 300 years ago, they get upset. But Africa today, they're fine with it too, because Afrikaners over there colonizing now. Why is the string called Viagra though? Well, Shindig, because I'm a little nutty. The Federal Reserve is getting people excited with the $14,000, as well as they've only given them anything but debt from the very beginning, making life hard. So there's a couple reasons why I do that. It don't, you know what, people read into the names or don't. I just try to have fun with it. Anyway, welcome to the reset. Absolutely. All over the world, there will be a reset. Yes, there will be, Christine. We will reset back to being human beings, or we will be highly efficient digital slaves. 18th here in PA for eviction. Okay, yeah, it's coming up. It's definitely coming up. And people would cheer for it, but they, you know, it's just like, and I understand people who have nothing being excited, but if you think about the landlords getting screwed also, because what they're doing, like I think Ivana posted before, is they're eradicating the middle class, right? They're taking us back to the 1940s. You can't have a well stratified class structure. If you have that, it means that then there are people just beneath the billionaires and just beneath millionaires who are taking their seat. And the 0.01% at the top, the big billionaires, all the ones in the big club, they want to get rid of all the other clubs that are even close to them. They need to break the human race. They don't want any opposition. They don't want anyone to be able to challenge them. So they need to break the millionaires into thousandaires. And the analysis from the Banking for All Act from the other brother we did a few months ago when it first hit the thing that none of the politicians are talking about is the new social credit score world. There's no saving, so they don't allow you to save anything. Towards the end of the month, if you don't spend the money, it loses value or it completely goes away. It's a whole new world, and everyone will go for it, which is why they're waiting for now to do it. After hyperinflation, you'll get your new digital dollar currency, move you on to the new scam, and things will be so hard because bread will be $12 a loaf, gas will be $20 a gallon, pens and papers and pencil might be billions of dollars. How people laugh about hyperinflation in other countries. Y'all remember that? Remember that? That's why you don't laugh at people. This is why you do not laugh at people. That's what Venezuela gets, you socialists. No, we did that to them. Okay, we did that because the billionaires told us to. All right, Koch brothers wanted that oil. And in Bolivia, the billionaires wanted the lithium. It's lithium, right? Lithium. So Afghanistan was the minerals, the lithium, the oil, or whatever else. It's just minerals, lands, and resources. When you laugh at other people, you'll get what you gave to them. So hyperinflation will hit us, and after we go through our dark time, people will beg. Weak people will beg to be on the digital dollar. Strong people won't. If you know how to take care of yourself, you realize that you don't need to get, like I was, once again, I was talking to my brother again about anarchy. It's just like, yeah, well, you try living without a government, see what you think. How can you pick and choose the government services that you use? And that's a stupid voice from me. He's actually a very intelligent person. Well, listen, here's the point. I don't need the government. I don't need anything from them. I don't need anything at all. I can feed myself, I can get water, and I have a place to live in. I can tell them to go to hell at any time that I need to. I can make solar panels. I can tell them to go to hell anytime. My goal for the last 15 years has been to be self-sufficient. I don't need them. But if you really think about it, neither do you. Neither do you. People look out for each other. Learning how to grow food is not hard. Learning how to take care of yourself is not hard. Learning how to make power is not hard. You don't even have to. You can go to eBay, instead of buying a dress, some shoes, and some jewelry, you buy yourself a wind generator. Buy yourself if you've got a stream in the backyard, a hydro generator, or just some solar panels. Now, yeah, you won't be able to watch a ignorant 60-inch telescreen vision 3D thing that you put on the wall. You may not be able to watch that all day, but you have light at night. But the good thing is you'll have the things that are very valuable. Family, time, love, your kids, spending time with them and some lights at night. Anybody can walk away. You don't need them. And I think another one of his points was, he said, well, but people are going crazy right now. So, it's good to have a government. And no, why are people going crazy? Because the government starved them. I posted this good video last night. It's a documentary called Patagonia. How they just taking land, the state. I think it was the states this time, the federal government. The federal government actually did the right thing. It's weird. You watch a documentary, it's skewed towards Obama was the savior and Trump was the bad guy. You listen, I don't have time for this nonsense. The United States Incorporated can't own land in America because the United States Incorporated is an international corporation. It is treason that any state let them own land. So giving the land back to the states, which is what Donald Trump did, was the right thing. Now the states were filed. See, the states were the ones who sold Native American land to these corporations for mineral rights. But it's hard to explain to people who the United States Incorporated is if they won't read the law. The Washington, D.C. Act of 1871. That's when they got rid of your republic and you lost all say in government above the state level. And it's a good thing if they give the land back to the states. Why? Because you know who runs your state. You know where they are. You know where to find them. You know how to go get them. You need to go get them. But letting international billionaires own the land is in this nation is a bad idea. Anyway, all right, let me see. The last couple comments, we'll get out of here. Greed, long story short. Yep, Angela's always greed. Social networks are just websites now. Yeah, and that's what we're gonna have to do, Shindig. We're gonna have to start moving out to websites and off of social media. It's obvious that they have chosen the wrong side of history. It's obvious that they have chosen to be destroyed and broken down in the future when we break up monopolies. And that's a damn shame because a lot of these social networks are fantastic platforms for bringing people together. You would think they'd stick with that concept, but it's not the world we operate in. This is exactly the Agenda 21 2030 playbook. It is, Kathy, and it's just take the land, exactly, take the resources. They think that nobody should own any land, and that's exactly what they want. You got a whole bunch of environmentalists who are behind them who have no clue what these people are up to. So they're using weather weapons to flood out the farmlands and bread belt burning them out. Yeah, and Kathy, and people won't know till they go to the Geoengineering website or they go look up the JFK speech who told you they had the ability to do that. If they have the ability to do that, of course corporations will buy to do that. Get down. The government inverts everything. If they tell you to stay at home, don't. If they tell you to wear a mask, don't. If things will harm you, the government doesn't care about you. And that's the thing. And so the great thing about that, Kathy, is we don't have a government. So this is worse. This is a for-profit corporation. And exactly, do the opposite, because it's like a slave master. Why would you do what slave masters want you to do? Why would you stand still and just wait for them to do what they're going to do? Nope, they have a plot and a plan, and you're walking right into a trap. You're literally walking us into an oven, and people are fine with it. It's a bad idea. Do the opposite. If they want you to be more, just hang on there. Be dependent on us. Just hang on there. Just, we got your back. Just put these shackles on real quick. No, I'm gonna go be independent. I'm gonna learn how to live on my own. So when it comes down to a digital dollar, I can say, you can go to hell with that. I don't need that. Don't want it. Not even interested. Give the land back to the people. We don't need a government, Kathy, and we never have. Things were more peaceful before we had feudalism turned into colonial management. Let me see. Look up Agenda 21, a good read. Yep, people should look into Agenda 21 and Agenda 2020. Question. Definitely. The latest they are doing to stir things to divide us further is criticizing Trump for not staying in the hospital longer, for not wearing a mask, and so on. It's never ending. It is, Ivan, and people don't get it. They don't get it. I was happy to see that. I was happy to see that he got better, walked right out there and said, look at that. You don't even need vaccines. That was important to hear. But people hate him. And they're emotional. Just how I was trying to tell people the other day, and I try to tell them all the time. People love Donald Trump. They love him. They love him, and they will fight you tooth and nail. They will start a civil war. They love him. And just how the other people, they hate him. They hate him. Anything that comes out of his mouth, they hate. They hate. They hate. They wish he died. They wish he got sick. And I'm glad that he got better. I'm not a Trump supporter. For me, I understand forced medication and a police state behind forced medication is a bad idea. I remember the Tuskegee experiment. I was not here, but I know that that's a bad idea. We are not as smart as we think we are. I was talking to a guy from Brooklyn earlier this morning, and he said he ran into a doctor, and the doctor told him, he said, you know what? He said, if I were in control, what I would do is I would let this thing run its course. And he was an elderly doctor, so I don't know what that means anymore, but he was an older guy. And the guy I was talking to was an older guy from Brooklyn. He said Brooklyn is shutting down again. And I think he said the Bronx, they're going through another lockdown. And the doctor said, I would let it run its course. This is nature. You're not going to fight nature. You're not going to win. We're not smart enough yet to do this. We need herd immunity, and we need it naturally, organically, and long term. And it's only going to come from letting this thing run its course. And so, of course, I was chiming in on that. And I said, yeah. And so what we've proven is we got the money to take care of grandmama, but they don't want to take care of grandmama. All they had to do was take some of that money and give it to these grocery stores, give it to certain malls and stuff so they can make shopping areas for the elderly. They can clean them 2-3 times a day to make sure they stay clean. Let the immunocompromised and the elderly stay at home, and the rest of you young people, get your butt out there, get you a smoothie, get you some leafy deep greens, put down the bagels, put down the puff puffs, put down the Cinnabon buns, put down the Twinkies. You eat like you got some common damn sense. You go ahead and get your flu, you beat it off so grandmama can be safe, because that's the job of young people in the herd, is to build up herd immunity. What did he tell? He told me, so I wrote it down. He said, I don't know how true this is. He said he got off of Google. He said what? He said 8% of the people who got cuckoo virus fragments were in nursing homes. No, 8% of the people who got it were in nursing homes, but 40% of the people who died from it were in nursing homes. They don't give two damns about grandma, and they never have. All right, let me start to wrap this up. Get out of here. My college professor is science, loved Agenda. My college professor in science loved Agenda 21. It's an important thing to look at. They've always wanted the land. Like, to me, Agenda 21 is just Agenda King. It's just Agenda Lord. They've always wanted the land. That's how this has always worked. They always wanted. If he who controls the food controls the people. And so the 0.01% that owns the land will own and control the people. That's what they've always done. That's never changed. So I don't think it's anything new. It's just people, every couple generations, they become foolish enough to trust the kings and lords who always hide the technology from them and always steal the land and the resources because they literally want happy slaves, or complacent slaves. The queen of our pastime, Harriet Tubman, said, "I freed thousands of slaves. I could free thousands of more if only they knew they were slaves." And that's where we are today. Last couple comments and I'm gonna run. It's only never ending if you think it is worth your time. It's worth your time and attention. It's only never ending if you think it's worth it. Okay, I guess you're replying to somebody else, both fine. I don't know what that is. They're getting the TPP passed. Environmentalists don't know how bad it is. Yep. What it is, they say Green New Deal and people follow. Well, because people don't read the laws, right? Kentucky Fried Mama, they vote for legislators, but they refuse to read the laws. And that's going to be the death of us all. We all going to die. Don't have to, but we are, even if we continue to trust these kings and these lords and then how they name these laws to make it sound like it's something great. Banking for All Act. I saw that one coming. As soon as they said banking for all, I said, that's the digital dollar. I already know it. I already know it. That is the final shackle that's going to be the final nail in the coffin. New version of the cold are coming this fall. Yeah, well, what is that? Cuckoo virus 2021. They're going to play as long as people go along with it. They're going to keep playing it. Me, I hope I already got it. And if not, I'm going to do the best I can to get it. Why? Because it's my job. I'm young, I'm strong, I'm healthy, I know what to eat. I'm protecting grandmama. I got my bananas right here. It's my job to get my flu every single year. To protect the people who built all this for me. Like, it's not even a Superman thing. They built the whole world. If they built the whole world, then I can pay them back. Thank you for having me. Now it's my job to get the elderlies back and get the cuckoo flu so they can be safe. This is Gerard, I gotta go. Love y'all to death now.